In physical sciences, we study about the objects and the physical material of the universe. In the natural sciences, we study about the life living organisms, birds, bipedal animals, quadrupedal animals, likewise. In the social sciences, we study about the society and the role of the human being in a society, the relationship between human beings and their social institutions, and so on. In social sciences, we have so many subjects. We have history, sociology, economics, political science, public administration, anthropology, psychology, management. These are some of the subjects in social sciences. The social sciences deals with the society. Society is the center of the study of all the sciences. That's why they are called as social sciences. Among the social sciences, we have a new subject called policy science. Policy science that has emerged as a subject. In yesterday's class, we have seen the definitions to the words social sciences, public policy, policy science, and others. The word public policy is defined by Thomas Dye and Harold Laswell in their own terms. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the emergence of public policy as a separate discipline, as an academic discipline. As an academic discipline, public policy is basically a social science, but it also has a relationship with certain other science subjects also. It's a multidisciplinary subject and it focuses on the policy making, policy execution, policy evaluation, and so many other things. In today's subject, we have to discuss what is policy science, what is public policy as an academic discipline, what is the nature of public policy, what is the scope of public policy, and what are the advantages of studying public policy. Public policy is a newly emerging subject in social sciences and which is largely emerged from political science and public administration. So these are the two subjects which have given birth to a new academic discipline called public policy. Public policy is defined by Thomas R. Dye and Harold Laswell in their own terms as the positive intervention of state. Now in today's class, we'll be discussing what is public policy, what is the nature of public policy, what is the scope of public policy, and what is the importance of public policy. Firstly, what is the nature of public policy? Public policy is the policy of the government to make changes in the lives of the people. The government always tries to bring positive change in the lives of the people. The government always tries to bring an order in the society, and thereby it tries to bring a positive change in the society. That's why public policy is the study of the positive intervention of state. The positive intervention of state. Generally, the state has two types of intervention, the positive intervention and negative intervention. Positive intervention means when the government tries to bring a quantifiable difference or qualitative difference in the lives of the people, in the living standards of the people, in a particular subject that is called as public policy. We have so many policies like as many government departments as you have. We have, for example, education policy, agricultural policy, industrial policy, import export policy, tourism policy, tourist policy. Likewise, we have so many policies. And these policies are formulated by the government to bring a positive change in the lives of the people. So, the ultimate aim of public policy is to bring positive change in the living standards of the people. This change can be qualitative change or quantitative change. The change may be in quantitative terms, sometimes it is also qualitative terms. But a public policy definitely tries to bring a positive change in the lives of the people. So, every government department has a public policy. We have as many public policies as we have public government departments. All the departments are having one policy or the other. Each government department has its own policy. For example, education policy, industrial policy, import export policy, foreign policy, and likewise we have monetary policy. So the government has so many departments, and all the departments are having the policies. So this is how the study of public policies is called as a public policy as an academic discipline. The study of public policies, the study of the process of making the public policies, the study of the process of formulation of public policies, the study of the process of implementation of public policies indicates the public policy as an academic discipline. And this is the nature of public policy. Then what is the scope of public policy? In public policy, suppose there is a subject called public policy. In a subject in an academic discipline called public policy, what do we study? We study so many topics in public policy. In fact, public policy is also like an academic discipline, like economics, political science, public administration, international relations, sociology, anthropology, history, psychology. These are the academic disciplines. Like all these academic disciplines, public policy is also one of the subjects. So public policy emerged as an academic discipline in 20th century. In fact, the process of making the public policies should be studied in a scientific manner. The science of public policy, which is also known as policy science, is called as public policy as an academic discipline. And public policy as an academic discipline is emerged in 1950s and 1960s. And there are so many universities throughout the world which are offering courses in public policy and public policy management. We have undergraduate courses, postgraduate courses, courses leading to research degrees, MPhil, PhDs, postdoctoral research on public policy. This is how public policy is emerged as a separate discipline, as an academic discipline. And mostly public policy has become a part of social sciences, as we have already discussed, there are four types of knowledge throughout the world. The knowledge can be broadly divided into four realms: the physical sciences, the life sciences, the social sciences, and arts. So, social sciences constitute various subjects that study about the society. And public policy is a social science. It studies mostly the sociological and economic aspects of governments, decision making, and policy formulation. So, this is how public policies are mostly related to social science subjects. Of course, public policies may also have interdisciplinary nature, and it can also be included in science subjects. But mostly, it is part of social sciences and it is recognized as an academic discipline as a social science. Now, let us discuss what is the scope of public policy. In public policy, in a subject called public policy, what do we study? The first point is we study about theories of public policy. The first and foremost important point in the scope of public policy as an academic discipline is the theories of public policy. In public policy, there are so many theories, but three theories are broadly related to public policy. The first one is the decision making theory, the second one is the elite theory, and the third one is group theory. These three theories are closely related to public policy. What is the decision making theory? When people have a problem in a civil society, people approach for a solution. People approach the government for a solution. The government takes a decision on the solution of a particular problem. So thereby the decision making starts. The decision making process contains the policy making, the rules and regulations, the law that is to be enacted. If there are already laws, the previous laws are to be amended so that a new law is to be constituted and old law is to be changed to become a new law. So likewise, the decision making forms the crux of public policy. Public policies emanate from the decisions of the executive, particularly the political executive and the administrative executive. But public policy is gaining its importance in 20th century because the governments are becoming the welfare governments. Social welfare is the buzzword of 20th century and 21st century. All the governments have two broad functions. One is to provide security to the people, and second one is to provide welfare to the people. Why welfare? Because different sections of people in the population who are historically depressed, historically at a disadvantaged position, they need some social justice, a new lease of life. So this is how to bring out reform for the disadvantaged sections, it requires welfare. So decision making forms part of the public policy making. And likewise, there is another theory called elite theory. The first theory is the decision making theory. The second theory is called elite theory. Generally, in any society, all the people are involved in the policy making process, policy formulation process. But the exact policy making is done by only a group of individuals. They are called the elite. The educated elite. The educated elite constitute a minuscule, a small group of people who constitute as an expert body that really formulate the policies. So, how policies are formulated by elite, and even the elite also has its own tastes and preferences. Elite is guided by its party ideology. For example, the elite in Congress party may think different. The elite in Bharatiya Janata Party may think different. The elite in other parties may have their own choices. So it is ultimately the elite, four or five people, or a team of experts. They prepare the policies. So in public policy, there are three important theories. One is the decision making theory, second one is the elite theory, and third one is the group theory. Group theory suggests that there are so many groups in every society. In fact, modern societies are societies with different cultures, diverse groups. Modern society is described as a multicultural society. There are as many cultures as many groups in a society. So all the groups have their own interests. The interests of one group may cooperate or contradict with the interests of the other group. So that's how groups are become very active in the policy formulation. So these three theories constitute the bedrock of the public policy study, center of public policy study. The first one is the decision making theory, the second one is the group theory, and the third one is the elite theory. So the study of these three theories is very important in understanding public policies. So as I have studied, the first point is public policy is the study of various aspects of the government and so on. The second point is public policy is the study of various theories. What are the theories that are there? These theories included the decision making theory, the elite theory, and the group theory. There are so many other theories, but these three theories constitute the crux of the policy formulation. These three theories are the main theories of public policy. This is the second point. And the third point is models of public policy. Models of public policy gives us what is the nature of public policy. If a policy is to be made, does it change the entire life of the people, or it should only bring some incremental development in their lives? These are the two arguments. If the government wants to bring a policy, public policy, does it want to bring a comprehensive change in the lives of the people, or it should only improve the lives of the people than to the previous life, than to the previous stages of social development or economic development? So this is how there are two important models in understanding public policies. The first one is a rational comprehensive model, and the second one is the incremental model. The rational comprehensive model is the model that denotes the complete revamp of previous policy and formulation of a new policy. It brings comprehensive changes in the previous policies. and it accommodates a new policy. It's a legal rational policy. So this is how the one type of change that public policy brings is the rational comprehensive change, and the second type of change is incremental change. Incremental change means changes in percentages, changes in phases, changes in slower paces. That's called as incremental change. Suppose the per capita incomes of the people is to be changed. If the government wants to bring a total change and total qualitative change and quantitative change of the people, 100% change, that's called as comprehensive and rational change. Comprehensive model, a rational comprehensive model. But if the government wants to bring changes in the lives of the people in a facial manner, so first they provide education, after that they provide public health, after that they provide housing, after that they provide protected drinking water, after that they provide clean environment, after that they provide education, after that they provide skill development, after that they provide clean environment. So likewise, the government tries to bring incremental changes in a visual changes. That is called as incremental model of public policy. In fact, the governments of modern times prefer to have incremental changes, incremental model, because for a comprehensive rational change, you require so much of financial resources. But modern governments do not have that much of financial resources. That's why the government tries to bring incremental changes over a period of time. If the government brings 20% change in the socio-economic living of the people of the previous years. So by increasing 20% of betterment, it can revamp the lives of the people in 5 years. So this is called incremental model. The government only tries to improve the lives in a gradual manner. First phase 20%, second phase 25%, third phase 30%. Likewise, if the government tries to improve the lives of the people in a gradual manner, that's called as incremental policy. But if the government wants to bring total change at a time, that's called as rational comprehensive model. These are the two models of public policy that we study in public policy models. So in public policy models, there are two important models. One is rational comprehensive model. The second one is the incremental model. As I have already discussed, there are three important theories that can give us an idea of understanding public policies: decision making theory, elite theory, and group theory. So, the first point is public policy, as a matter of an academic discipline, is developed in 20th century. It studies about the positive intervention of the state. That is the first point. And second point is public policies are to be studied with the help of various theories. And important among them are three important theories: the decision making theory, the elite theory, and the group theory. And third point is public policies are to be understood with the help of two models. One is rational comprehensive model, and the second one is incremental model. So this is how public policies are to be understood. And now, what are the determinants of public policy? That is the fourth point. In the discipline of public policy, what is the process that we are studying? We study the policy making process, the policy implementation process, the policy judicial process. Likewise, we study the political process of the public policy. In this political process, there are four important internal processes. The first one is policy formulation process. What do you mean by policy formulation process? How the public policies are formulated. The public policies are formulated with the help of legislature. It is the legislature. It is the public representatives who are elected to the legislature. They initiate the formulation of public policies. So in public policy, we study about the legislature, the role of legislature in policy making. Legislature acts as a agent, as a positive institution in formulating the public policies. How legislature formulate the policies? Legislature study the problems of the people and they identify the need for a public policy and discusses it with the executive. Both legislature and executive jointly formulate the policies. This is called as policy formulation process. Generally, policy formulation process is initiated by the executive but approved by legislature. The chief minister and his cabinet in the state government. Likewise, the prime minister and his cabinet at the national government. They initiate the public policy. They identify the need for a public policy. So, take for example, the union government has formulated Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao policy. Why it has identified this policy? Because the society is the education status of women, particularly the girls in the age of below 14 years, is not very satisfactory. That's why the central government has started Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao policy. So when there is a problem, the executive identifies the problem and it formulates the policies as a solution to solve the problem. So likewise, when women education is not so satisfactory, the government initiated Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao policy. And likewise, there are so many suicides by farmers, the farming community, because the crops are suddenly becoming drying up. The crops are not yielding any crop for so many years. The whole agricultural investment is going waste. That's why the government has come out with Prime Minister Fasal Bima Yojana and it provides crop insurance to the farmers. So when there is a problem in the society, to solve the problem, the government formulates a policy. So likewise, the legislature, who are the representatives of the people, who are directly elected by the people, they elect the representatives and they discuss the public policies. And legislature formulate the policies. Legislature and executive jointly formulate the policies. In fact, the initiative to formulate the policies come from the executive, and once it is formulated in the form of a bill, the legislature gives its assent, its agreement, its approval. So this is how legislature and executive are the joint authors of any public policy. So this is called policy formulation. And after that, once a policy is formulated, that should be implemented. If you do not implement the policy, there is no meaning for that. That's why to implement the policies, you need to have good number of government employees, officers, and you have to implement it to reach its targets. Every policy has its own targets. So this is called execution of public policy. When once the execution of public policy is completed, while implementing the policy or formulating the policy, legal problems may crop up. Some people may approach the court for want of justice. When the rights of the people are denied due to public policy, then citizens have every right to approach the court. In fact, Article 332 of the Constitution provides the right to approach the court, right to constitutional remedies. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar calls it as the heart and soul of fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution. When the people believe that their rights are denied, their rights are violated, then the people can invoke Article 32 of the Constitution and approach the court for the restoration of their rights. Likewise, when people's rights are denied, when the people's rights are violated due to the implementation or due to the formulation of any public policy, it is the judiciary that interprets the public policy and restore the rights of the people. If any public policy violates the fundamental rights of the people, the judiciary can directly say that a policy is against the Constitution. So it is the judiciary that examines the validity of a policy in the light of the Constitution. If it is against the spirit or letter of the Constitution, that policy can be declared as unconstitutional by the judiciary. So judiciary has the every power to examine all the provisions of the public policy and satisfy itself whether all the provisions are within the constitutional validity. If they are opposite to the constitutional validity, it can declare it as unconstitutional. So this is how the public policies are to be interpreted by the judiciary. Let me repeat, the public policies are formulated by the legislature, implemented by the executive, and interpreted by the judiciary. It is the judiciary that examines the constitutional validity of a public policy. So friends, public policy is an academic discipline, has certain important points. The first point is public policy as an academic discipline is emerged in early 1950s and 1960s, and it has emerged as a part of social sciences as an interdisciplinary subject from political science and public administration. And Ezekiel Draw, Harold Laswell, and Thomas R. Dye. These are the three notable scientists who have developed the science of policies. It's called policy science or public policy. This is the first point. Second point is public policy as an academic discipline. It explains certain theories. Among them, there are three important theories. The first one is the decision making theory. The second one is the elite theory. And the third one is the group theory. So these are the three important theories that explain about the public policies. And after that, the third point is public policies can be understood with the help of certain models. There are two important models. One is the rational comprehensive model, and the second one is incremental model. These are the two important models that explain about the policy making process. And the fourth one is there are certain determinants for the public policies. What are the determinants of public policy? Among the determinants for public policy, we have legislature, executive, judiciary, mass media. These are the four important determinants of public policies. If we take legislature, it is the legislature that initiates the policy making. With the help of executive, it formulates the public policies. The policy formulation is jointly done by the executive and the legislature. And policies are to be implemented by the executive. And policies are to be interpreted by the judiciary. It is the judiciary that interprets the policy making. If the policies are against to the people, it can declare them as null and void. So every public policy must conform itself to the provisions of the Constitution. If it doesn't conform to the validity of the Constitution, the Supreme Court of India has the right to declare the public policies as unconstitutional. So, public policies are to be formulated with the help of certain determinants, the legislature, executive, and judiciary. And likewise, it is only the media that provides the ground for the policy formulation. Media acts as an examiner of public policies. It critically examines the policy making process, the policy implementation process, and policy evaluation process. If the media finds any loopholes or lacunae in the policy making, it can declare it before the government that certain criticisms are to be addressed. So this is how media also acts as an important element of public policy, as a determinant of public policy. So public policy as an academic discipline has these important aspects. The first one is public policy as an academic discipline has emerged in 20th century, shortly after the Second World War, particularly in the context of the whole world getting into the public welfare. In fact, there are two important incidents in 1950s and 60s that have brought welfareism throughout the world. The New Deal and the Beveridge Report. The Beveridge Report of the British Parliament that has brought public welfare to the realm of government. And government considered public welfare as its primary duty. And in America, there's a called New Deal that has brought public welfare. So welfare mechanism is increased due to this Beveridge report and New Deal of America. Due to these things, public policy has become a positive instrument to bring a qualitative change in the lives of the people, in the living standards of the people. And public policy in this context is defined as the positive intervention of state, the positive intervention of state. And each department has as many policies, each government has as many departments as the government has. We have education policy, industrial policy, tourism policy, import export policy, external affairs policy, industrial policy. Likewise. This is the first point. Second point is public policy is an academic discipline, has certain important theories. There are three important theories in public policy. That is, the first one is the decision making. The first important point is public policy is an academic discipline. Important point is theories of public policy. Among them, there are three important theories. One is decision making theory, second one is the theory, the third one is a theory. First point is the development public policy remains and is in scope of policy and for the positive intervention of state policy as a positive state. It is common policies is public Public policy emerged as an academic discipline during the 20th century in 1950s and 60s. It's an interdisciplinary subject, and public policy as an academic discipline has its own nature and scope. The nature of public policy is it studies about the positive intervention of state. As per the scope of public policy, the public policy studies about the theories of public policy. There are three important theories. The first one is the decision making theory. The second one is the elite theory. And the third one is the group theory. And third point is public policy also studies about two important models. The first one is rational comprehensive model. And the second point is it studies about the incremental model of public policies. And fourth point is public policy studies about the policy making process. In policy making process, there are four important processes. The first one is policy formulation process. Second one is policy implementation process. And third one is policy interpretation process. And fourth one is in a public policy, even the multimedia, media also influence the policy making. It can influence the policy making by making comments, making supports, making alternative decisions. Likewise, it can contribute for the strengthening of public policies. And lastly, in public policy, we also study about the making of various policies. In India, for example, there are five important policies: the agriculture policy, the industrial policy, the environmental policy, the reservation policy, and the foreign policy. These are the five important policies that makes the policy process a very success. In India, public policy studies, we study about the agriculture policies, how the policies of agriculture are coming to change right from the days of independence to the present day contemporary period. During the last 75 years, how Indian agriculture has undergone so many changes with the invention of green revolution technologies in Indian agriculture. This we study in Indian agriculture policy. And likewise, we also study about the industrial policies. In industrial policies, the Nehruvian policies of 1948 and 1956, a new industrial policy of 1991. We study these policies. And likewise, we also study about the environmental policies. Environment constitute one of the major policy frameworks in any society. In fact, the studies on environment started in early 1970s with Stockholm Conference. The environmental policy. Public policy has certain important studies. Public policy as an academic discipline, how it started in 1950s and how it enlarged itself as a policy science, an academic discipline of public policy is the first point. Second point is what are the theories of public policy? Our interpretation policies, the judicial policy, and how multimedia media influences the policy making. And lastly, how public policies are made. As an example of this, we can take five examples like Indian agriculture policy, industrial policy, reservation policy, education policy, and environmental policy. So with this, we can complete the public policy as an academic discipline. In tomorrow's class, we'll be studying about the theories of public policy. We'll study the decision-making theory of public policy. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much.